Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And it's time for the AEW All-Out Star Ratings. This show happened less than 24 hours ago, Larson. It wrapped up basically 12 hours ago.
Yeah, I'm looking at my watch here. Yeah, and it confirms
right
what you're saying, that we have basically a 12-hour turnaround on our star ratings. Who else does that? Who else does that?
Certainly not those other guys.
The other star ratings.
We've got the freshest star ratings. Let's see if our Katras will align today, Larson, as they didn't on the WWE Payback star ratings, which you can get right now.
Exactly, here on Friendo Club Wrestling. Let's kick things off. So, to preface this, we didn't watch the 0-hour matches yesterday.
Nope.
Haven't watched them since yesterday, so we're only concerning ourselves right now with the main 10-match card.
Correct.
Maybe by the end of the week when we react to Dave's star ratings when they come out at the end of the week.
Like
that
a
point,
million years from now.
Yeah. Maybe by that point we'll watch them. Who knows? Anyways, kicking things off with the first match of the main card. Better Than You, Baby. That's Adam Cole and MJF taking on Dark Order. Steve, how many stars did you give this match?
I thought it was fine. They told a story with MJF and his messed up neck. Dark Order working heel, which was relatively entertaining. Adam Cole had to take a lot of this on himself, and then we had the Willis Reed moment with MJF. We got a double kangaroo kick and a double Cliz-Liz. I gave it 3 1/4.
Wow. Okay. This is a very sports entertainment match. And I'm not saying that as a knock. It's just what it was.
Yeah.
It was very much concerned with the story being told, not so much the technical proficiency in the ring. Not to say the wrestling itself was poor. It wasn't. This match existed for a very particular story beat, and it served that purpose well. The outcome of this match was never in doubt, even with MJF walking to the ring, holding his neck, getting his neck wrecked by Reynolds and coming back. I gave it 2 3/4. I thought it was fine. It served the storyline purpose, but beyond that,
yeah, I started off giving it a lower rating, and then I thought about it more. I was like, I was thoroughly entertained by the whole thing. Obviously, that Better Than You, Baby is going to win this thing, but Adam Cole's, and then plus you have the Samoa Joe stuff at the end.
Yeah, that was entertaining.
Which I thought I popped for big. So if you wrap all that up, yeah, I could see why you gave it yours. Let's go ahead and move on to are we doing Samoa Joe versus Shane Taylor?
Yes.
I'm just going by Wikipedia here.
Yeah, we'll go to order.
All right. So Samoa Joe versus Shane Taylor for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Larson, what did you give it?
Hard-hitting bout. It was great to see Shane Taylor get a pay-per-view match on the AEW main card. Again, another match where the outcome wasn't really in doubt, and as much it was great to see Shane Taylor on an AEW pay-per-view, I'm bummed out this is the shortest match on the main card.
Yeah.
It was pretty short, about 6.5, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen more match here.
Yeah.
What we saw was really, really good. Really just wanted more. I gave it 3 1/4. I thought it was a really solid bout.
Wow. I gave it 2 1/2. It's a 6-minute match. The story, it was never in doubt. There is some hard-hitting moves, but it's to me that's like nothing more than a 2.5 star match. Like, if Shane Taylor hasn't even been on AEW television, so there was no build to this. So yeah, I mean, if they had debuted him on AEW television and made a big deal about him and gave him a bunch of matches where he was beating people left and right, and they gave this at least 10 minutes, I could have seen going over 3. But yeah, no, I gave this 2.5.
What you're saying is I'm the one being very generous today, is what you're saying.
You are, absolutely. Yeah, man.
Must have woke up in a good mood. Let's move on to the next match, the TNT title, Luchasaurus defending against Darby Allin. Steve, what did you give this match?
I thought it was fine. It was like a top of the second hour, Dynamite match. It was a TNT title. The TNT title is basically meaningless. Christian is still getting it to mean something after being a pretty bungled championship over the past year. I gave it 3 1/4. I always like seeing Darby bump around on large men like this. The 2 tombstones and a shot to the back of the head I thought was a decent finish. Christian was pretty entertaining. It was a WWE match, 3 1/4.
We're aligned here, Steve. 3 1/4.
All the Katras are aligned for the first time.
3 1/4. I agree with everything you said. Entertaining, executed well. It was a very sports entertainment type match. Darby busted open early, bleeding all over the place. There were some fun bits. I like when Christian tried to get Nick Wayne to throw in the towel. But yeah, it felt like it could have been a really good Dynamite match, maybe in a Dynamite main event. I gave it 3 1/4. Next up, Powerhouse Hobbs versus Miro. Crowd really came alive for the first time, at least in the main card for this match.
Yeah.
Especially towards the second half. I had my expectations, what I hoped was going to happen, which was mass destruction in the ringside area. We didn't get that, but we did get them beating the heck out of each other, hitting each other's finishes. And I think the crowd being really invested in this match elevated it, as well as the performances of both Hobbs and Miro. I think they were feeding off the crowd and giving them what they wanted. The crowd wanted physicality and them, hitting clotheslines at each other, and they delivered that many times over. Wildly entertaining. I liked CJ Perry, Miro's wife, making her AEW debut after the conclusion of the match. And I thought the story beat with Miro and her was really interesting. Where is this going to go?
Yeah.
And not just that, where is this feud between Miro and Hobbs going to go? Because it's continuing, evidently. I was really wrapped up, especially the second half of this match. I gave it 3 3/4. I thought this match was tons of fun.
Wow, I think you short shrifted a little bit. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that, yeah, I agree. Like the first like quarter of the match felt like they could have just gone into Dynamite territory. But by the time the crowd really got into it, the crowd fed into the competitors fed back into the crowd. They were given what they wanted to see. I think I originally was going to go with 3 3/4, but then I remember they did the cool thing that I like where they do each other's finishers. And I was like, oh, that brings it up to like pay-per-view level.
That's an easy quarter-star addition for Steve.
Absolutely, man. I mean, they really killed it, and especially the post-match angle. Yeah, the great thing is I think it's only upwards from here. Yeah. I really want to see these guys go at it again.
Definitely.
And like you said, figure out where the CJ stuff is going to go. But yeah, for their first outing, 15 minutes. It was longer than it was like double what I thought it was going to be.
Same.
Which I love. They allowed it to build. Yeah, 4-star match for me.
It was a lot of fun. Next up for the TBS Championship, KRIS Statlander defending against Ruby Soho. Steve, what did you give this match?
Thought it was a good match. I gave it 3 1/4. I thought the finish was a bit too. I'm gonna keep on saying this. I guess now it's an adjective. It was a bit too Dynamite. Tony comes out of nowhere, which was pretty entertaining and pretty funny, but it was a bit. She steals the spray paint and allows Statlander to pick up the win. So it wasn't like a real bout between these two where, man, they're really giving it their all and they were going to have a decisive finish. It ended on a gimmick finish. It was the match was just fine. They're both really terrific wrestlers. But maybe, and again, not a lot of build going into the match either. So yeah, I kind of figured unless they were going to do some sort of swerve where all the outcasts have the titles and then Tony's on the outside looking in, maybe that could have been more interesting, but they just went with the safe pick, which was Statlander winning. So I gave it 3 1/4.
I really liked this match. I thought there was a lot of creativity involved here. I thought Ruby hitting that top rope no future was awesome. I didn't think there was much doubt in terms of the outcome, but based on how the match was constructed and the performances of both of them, I was like, oh, maybe Ruby's got a chance here. A little bit. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. I thought it was really fun. Next up, I can't wait to talk about this one.
Ooh.
Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks in a strap match.
Yeah.
So, match had no build.
No build. Well, it did have a build. It was all behind the scenes build that played out here on the Going in Raw Dirt Sheet channels.
In terms of the story of the match, it basically had no build. That being said, the performances of both Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson made me feel like I was watching a blow-off match for a 3-month-long blood feud.
In the main event of WrestleMania, yes, mind you.
Because the passion, the intensity, the work, them beating the hell out of each other and selling everything, not just the effects from the physical point of view, but from an emotional standpoint. That end where Ricky Starks is getting choked out and he's trying to fight it, and there's that moment where he realizes, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
But he still won't tap out. He passes out. Was awesome. From a production standpoint, it was photographed just about perfectly. Absolute star-making performance from Ricky Starks. It's got to be only onwards and upwards from here for him. He's been on the precipice seemingly of something major. It was the feud with Punk seemed to be indicative of that. But after this match, and after Bryan Danielson and the media scrum saying that Starks carried him in this match, because Danielson's wrestling what is, in my estimation, a 5-star match with a freshly recovered from a busted arm.
Yeah.
This is 5 stars. This is basically everything I love about professional wrestling right here. 5 stars.
Our Kachas are aligned again, man. 5 stars. Absolutely. 1,000%. No doubt in my mind. It would have been more if it was for a title in the main event. But like you said, this felt like it was. Bryan Danielson is, by my estimation, the best wrestler on the planet today. He really is. And to come in, Ricky obviously very, emotional about, and he even said this in his promo on Collision, I had to sit on the couch at home for All In for the biggest show. The consolation was the main event of All Out. And then no build because of no fill.
Yeah.
CM Punk gets fired, and he's stuck with nothing. So they come in, and they're like, nah, man, we're going to give you this. And by God, this match, this was as close. And I don't want to get to, time will tell. The future will tell in terms of where Ricky Starks goes from here. But this was as close to, like, Brett versus Austin as AEW, I think, has had in terms of what's a match that can really make a guy with today's Bret Hart, Bryan Danielson, and whether or not AEW is going to continue Ricky Starks' momentum to fulfill his potential, which I think is massive. But even like the little things, like his little, running the victory lap before the warm-up lap before the match and checking the pulse and all the little character things that he does so well. Good. This was a career match for Ricky Starks.
It really was.
And like you said, that final image of him understanding that the lights dimming was really, really something else. I mean, God, you and I are big fans. I'm not a huge fan of dudes getting dumped on their head, even though I'm about to give one of those matches like a really high star rating. I'm not a huge fan of that. I love chops and straps because because it ain't gonna do structural damage. This is gonna hurt like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And these guys were hitting each other in the face with the straps.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was awesome. Yeah. Oh, 5-star classic.
Yeah, just about as good as pro wrestling gets.
Absolutely.
Next up, Katsuyori Shibata and Eddie Kingston teaming up against Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Steve, what'd you give this match?
Man, this match shouldn't have been on this card. I'm sorry. But this is All Out, and you're putting this on there. I gave it 2.5 stars. The match was fine. It was what it was. It wasn't anything special. Nobody in this match overperformed. I'm not a fan of, like, let's fill out all 4 hours for the sake of filling out all 4 hours of the main card.
Agreed.
You ditch this and you ditch this and you cut in half the second to last match, and you've got yourself like a killer pay-per-view. I thought the pay-per-view was really good.
Yeah.
A lot of people online I saw saying a lot better things about it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
But like I saw one take that was like, oh, it was better than All In. Come on, All In had meat matches, you know. But getting back to this match, it just, it was 16 minutes of like, spinning wheels basically in terms of a story. 2.5 stars.
Yeah, that's kind of my knock on it too. I gave it 2 3/4. I thought it was, for what it was executed fine. I just didn't really feel like from a storyline perspective it advanced very much. If this was a match where if Eddie wins, he gets a title shot, Ring of Honor title shot against Claudio, there's stakes involved. It elevates the intensity of the match. It gives the match meaning and purpose beyond just Eddie and Claudio don't like each other.
Yeah.
But we know that already. That's been well established. Let's advance the story. Is Eddie going to get another crack at Claudio? We still don't know. And this match didn't really illuminate much of anything in that regard.
Right.
Again, executed perfectly fine. Beyond that, nothing terribly exceptional about it. 2 3/4.
Yep.
Next up, Konosuke Takeshita taking on Kenny Omega. Steve, I have a feeling that you're eager to talk about this one, so kick us off here.
No, I thought it was a great match. I give it 4.5 stars. I mean, these guys, Konosuke Takeshita is a next level pro wrestler. Like in terms of what he can do and the stories he can tell in the ring. I've liked how they've developed his character into a bad guy. You had the screwdriver bit, which was pretty quickly, dealt with. And then it came down to, was that small distraction enough for Kenny Omega to drop the ball here against Konosuke Takeshita? And he sold those knees like it was like nothing else being dumped on his head. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I know that's a big deal. I know that means something when he's getting dumped on his head.
It sets the template of what to expect. It sets a tone,
It absolutely does. So I really like this match. I thought it was, one of those, Japan matches that just goes hella hard, and you're watching it, you're thrilled. Didn't matter. There was a build. There's obviously been a build here.
Yeah.
And there's been kind of an extensive build here, and I feel like it's going to go even further. Kenny's eventually going to get this win over Takeshita. But yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought it was a killer match. It was awesome.
We're aligned again, 4.5 stars.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Hard hitting, physical. And I mentioned this on our recap, and commentary pointed out that Kenny's selling throughout this match was utterly fantastic, like it normally is. That's not outside the norm, but the way Kenny was really putting over Takeshita's offense was something else, and ultimately put him over, and had Takeshita get the win after that running knee with the knee pad down. Really exceptional match. I agree with you. I could do without people getting dumped on their head, but I understand that's kind of the nature of what Kenny does a lot of the time. Is he takes those bumps that very few people are willing to take. Yeah. And he does them in service of a story, at least.
Sure.
So 4.5 stars. Next up, what could have been most weeks, a Collision main event. Instead, we get it in the second to last match on the pay-per-view. Bang Bang Gang, Bullet Club Gold taking on the super team of the Young Bucks, FTR. If this was a Collision main event, I'd be like, wow, that's a really fun way to end episode of Collision. When we're 3.5 hours, not even that, 3 hours, 3 hours and 15 minutes into a pay-per-view, and I'm eager to get to the main event. I felt like this match should have been more like 12 or 15 minutes as opposed to 20-something.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfectly fine match. We love the Bang Bang Gang here at Friendo Club Wrestling and Going In Raw. They're wildly entertaining.
Absolutely, yeah.
In terms of the execution of this match, nothing to quibble with.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sure it will set up the Guns taking on FTR for those tag titles down the line, because it was Colton, I think, that ultimately got the pin on Cash Wheeler. I gave it 3.5. It was fine. It would, again, a good Collision main event, but I don't know if it necessarily needed to be on pay-per-view. 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I was a little bit more harsh on it. I gave it 3 stars. And there's one, and I think you'll agree with this, and I know that's not what you meant, but like when you say the execution of the match, I know you mean like in terms of like the sequences and the moves and everything like that. I do think that like the story of the match, like this went on for like there's a finish like 7 minutes before the match ended. And I was like, oh man, this match should probably be done with by now. And I remember we said that on stream, and then they like reloaded and did a whole new set of like, oh, now you're going to do this spot now. Like this match should be done with. And I get it. Like it's probably the only time we're going to get FTR and the Young Bucks teaming up together. They wanted to make it special, so they gave it 20 minutes.
Well, it's not that special. They've done it twice before.
I stand corrected that I don't know why they're giving this shit 20 minutes. I thought the start of the match was probably the hottest bit, where the Young Bucks come in and the crowd is giving their reaction. It was a very Cena-esque split reaction. And it was a very loud one. And a little bit of awkwardness with FTR doing a bunch of CM Punk stuff. Like when they do the BTE trigger, Dax looked at his wrist for clobbering time.
Clobbering time.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. But that wasn't enough to save this match, dude. They got to shave 7 minutes off this shit, and I'd probably give it 4 stars because it probably would have been awesome. But I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is just kind of exhausting at this point, and it kind of kills the match for me. So.
Well, it does, especially this deep into a pay-per-view when you know you're going to get a 20-minute minimum main event.
Yeah.
Which we can move on to now. We got Jon Moxley defeating Orange Cassidy to win the International Championship. Steve, what'd you give this match?
I thought this was killer, man. I gave it 4.25. I think that like the International Championship is kind of interesting in that, Orange Cassidy's done a heck of a job building it up. He's sort of been like the Gunther of it, but he also has never really cracked a certain level. So I feel like the title hasn't cracked a certain level, and I think that's what they're going to do with it now that Mox has it, because he's like that A-level guy. And I think this match sort of might have established Orange Cassidy as that A-level guy, even in a loss, which is awesome. And I think 4.25, which is what I gave it, isn't a bad rating. It's a really good rating. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. I just think that, like, this match was 19 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm sort of curious how much of that was just Moxley killing Orange Cassidy.
By about 16 minutes of it. I would wager.
That's sort of what I suspect as well. So yeah, I mean, maybe a bit on a one note with this match, but that's not to say the drama was high. Moxley in the end literally praying to not have to kill this person, I thought was really, really cool. His character work in this match was really good. And Orange Cassidy is great. So, yeah, I gave it 4 1/4. I thought it was a good match.
Aligned once more, 4 1/4.
Wow. All right.
It would have made a lot of sense in several respects to have Orange win this, because then you take him and the international title to another level by defeating someone like Moxley.
Yeah, sure.
A perennial main eventer, one of the top guys in the entire company, and by beating Mox, therefore Orange is elevated to that same tier. They decide not to go that route, but Orange's body ultimately falling apart despite him trying to will himself through matches, which he's been doing for 3 months seemingly.
Yeah, right.
Is a logical conclusion to his story. Ultimately, despite the will to continue, his body just gave out on him.
Yeah.
And it brings a new path for Orange, and where is this character going to go? Can they continue this momentum that he has? And that's something that AEW has struggled with, is carrying on with momentum. The character work throughout by both of them was great. Seemingly match over match over the last few months with Orange, he's been toning down some of the comedic aspects, unless it's a match where he's taking his opponent lightly, and ramping up the intensity. And therefore the drama. And down towards the finish, this match kind of felt like it could go either way, going into it. And the drama towards the end was really good. Execution, fantastic. In the end, Mox gets the win, and seemingly they're going to do the 1B to the world titles 1A. Yeah. Really good match, 4 1/4.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Anyways, listen, we want the friendos to let us know what you guys think about all these matches. Drop your star ratings. See how close our Katras align here in the Friendoverse. Leave them in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and hit that like button if you want to do us a solid here at the Friendo Club Wrestling. The all-out full review is available right now over at youtube.com/Steven Larson, so be sure to check that out in its entirety. We also have the latest in CM Punk news over there from last night. So thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll see you around.
Goodbye.